Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. It's a special one, the Virtual Crafters Day. It has been pretty nuts. I'm kind of at the end of the day, so if you haven't been watching all the rest of them, we got a couple more after me, and it's been an awesome day. So many amazing people doing, showing, sharing, all that kind of stuff, making in general. So I hope you guys are all enjoying the day. So today what I'm going to do, usually I do resin casting, usually especially for something like this, I would probably stick to something that the resin casting stuff is what I'm a little bit more expert at, I would say. But I thought we would try a little bit of a turning project. Something that I've been watching Sam Angelo do on YouTube for a long time is chase threads by hand. And it always intrigued me. I don't necessarily know that I had any big plan for it. It looked so fun. And so I thought what I would do for my demo is we'll turn a mallet. And what I'm going to do is chase threads, and we'll be able to screw the handle together, which, you could just make it out of one piece probably, or, glue the thing in. There are other ways to do this, but there are a lot of reasons to use hand chased threads. I think the biggest draw for me is I'm used to, I've done threading of stuff, a lot of it, and usually I'm using dies and taps, and the problem is you have to get a specific size every time. With this, you can make any size hole and put threads in it. So there's a lot of applications, and I thought it'd be kind of fun. So we got a blank that is, it's kind of hard to see, but there's one of the man-made burls in here. It's the kind of black starry mixture that I use, and then I'm a little bit disappointed. I went a little bit dark on the purple top, but it's see-through. And I think once we get it polished up, it'll kind of pop a little bit more. And then this is a blurple handle. So we got a 3-inch blank here and a 1.5 here. And so let's head over to the lathe, because you guys know me, especially if you're used to my channel, it usually takes me forever to get stuff done. But I think we can get through this project pretty quick. The thread chasing isn't really a time-consuming process, I don't think. And I want to stop and say I'm absolutely no expert. I'm a complete novice when it comes to using this. I've done it once. But I actually got decent results. So I thought, why not share? Maybe it'll be something that somebody sees and is like, oh, I want to get into that. So let's head over to the lathe. We'll start turning this. The beauty of this is it's a really simple turning project. I'm going to barely do any turning on the handle, and it's just a slight kind of, slight shape on the mallet head, and then we'll just cut some threads in the thing. So I'm pretty excited. I'm almost out of breath because I had to go run up to the front and go get refill my water right before we started. I like to push things to the end. So anyway, welcome everybody. I'm not going to stop and go through all the people. I'd rather kind of get onto the lathe and get the shavings flying over here. So one thing that I did notice when I was setting up, I was trying to get 2 views. One was going to be overhead, and I'm really noticing I need to move my light, my overhead light. It is really terrible, and it's just the bed reflects and everything's reflecting. So I'm going to work on that so we can get some double kind of view things for different stuff, so I'm not always moving the camera around. But anyway, and I see that we're getting some super chats. Thanks, Jamie, and a big thank you to Jamie and Carl for putting this on. Just awesome event. I know we did one, with Easy Wood Tools and Carl, and I was like, we need to do this again. And Carl came through, and Jamie did a lot of hard work getting everything set up. So big thank you to you guys, and thank you to Jacob too. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, so here's the lathe. So the first thing that we're going to do, actually I forgot to show you. I have a mallet. This is the kind of shape thing that I'm going to be going off of. So we're going to kind of sort of mimic that shape for this mallet. Oh, I need to open up my phone too. Oh man, I'm just, I thought I had everything under control, and I was like, oh, I'm just cruising through, hanging out, and then we get to the thing, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to go on in 5 minutes. All right, so I got my chuck. I made a tenon. So all I did to do that, I just put this thing between centers and just made a tenon on this just to kind of speed things up, so I'm not kind of messing around with that. Put a little dovetail on it. Got my 2-inch, I think it's a 2.5-inch jaw. So we got that ready to rock, and we'll pull up our tailstock, and I'm just going to double check and make sure that the camera is as good as we can get it here. It was the best view coming in from this side. The light above me reflects so bad. I didn't realize it. So let's turn this on, get our tailstock up. And so first off, what I'm going to do is probably switch out my, I don't need a 12-inch tool rest, that's for sure. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to kind of true this up, but we're going to kind of put the shaping in. And what I'm going to do is I've already set some calipers. It's just a very slight taper. We don't need to do a whole lot of much. And I intentionally made this 3-inch because it's really close to the size that we want. So I'm just going to, like I said, true it up so it's kind of not wobbling. And then I have my, I have 2 sets of calipers. This will be the, let's see here. The first thing I want to mention is we're going to be putting the threads on this burl part down here. So this is going to be the smaller side. This is going to be the larger. So large side of the head, the top of the head up here, small down there. And it should be pretty good. Let me go to my channel so I can open up the comments and see what you guys are saying. I'll try to kind of keep an eye on the chat here a little bit as well as we go. But be kind of paying attention to what I'm doing so that we can get to the thread chasing and all the fun. All right, so I'm pretty excited about this thread chasing. So again, I learned it from, I got kind of hooked on this idea from Sam Angelo, the Wyoming woodturner on YouTube, and he is a master. So again, I don't barely know what I'm doing. I've done it a couple times with this thread chasing stuff. Sam Angelo is a master at this stuff. So I definitely, if this is something that you're interested in, definitely go and subscribe. Don't even mess around looking at videos. Just subscribe to Sam's channel. He's got all the information. He's got a bunch of videos on how to do thread chasing. Let's get this thing going here. I'm just going to quickly kind of true this up. We don't need to take a lot of material off, you know. I wanted to get this kind of pretty close to the right size out of the mold. And I'm just using my negative rake. This is the mini tool handle from Easy Wood Tools with the negative rake carbide on it. Oh. And so what I'm going to be doing here is we're probably only going to be using about this much of it. That way I can kind of come in and kind of part this off a little bit. I could go ahead and like flip it around and do some different stuff, but I think it'll be easiest just to kind of part it. I don't know that we're going to get this finished today anyway. So I'm not going to really worry about the top of the mallet. I can always put it in coal jaws or something down the road to kind of finish off the top, but I want to get the shape done on the head, get the threads on here, and then finish up the handle. So just kind of focus on that stuff, you know. Let's get our calipers out here. We get the big ones. Let me get my, I think I'll just use my, this is actually, I'd rather go with a thinner one, but I don't really like my 1/8 inch thing. So we got a little ways to go here. So I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to kind of take this down as well so it's not wobbly. I'm going to get a little bit of chatter because I'm taking a pretty big amount off. So let's see where we're at. I'm not very comfortable holding the thing and you know, holding it while I'm doing it one-handed. I don't really have a lot of experience doing that, so I do a lot of stop and go when it comes to getting it to the right size. One day maybe. All right, so we're there now. And then we'll come down and get the right dimensions on the bottom here. We got quite a ways to go down there. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna just take a good chunk of this off and square it up kind of. Close as I can to that. And then one little trick that I do, like I said, because I don't really hold the calipers, one of the problems is these are pretty sharp and it can kind of catch on there, so I don't really mess around with that. I can kind of look at this and see, you know, how far do I need to come in? And you could even mark this if you wanted, but I'm just going to kind of use my eye. That way it gives me an idea of kind of how far I need to go initially. And this is, it doesn't really matter, you know, if I get this absolutely perfect. I'm just kind of, those dimensions were taken off of that, that other mallet that I have. So let's see how far we came. Oh, I went a little bit too far. We're okay though, no problem. Got a little overexcited there. So I'm actually just going to use this to take down quite a bit of this material down on this end. And we just need to make a taper from one end to the other. You could use the square carbide from Easy Wood Tools. That wouldn't be bad. I have this in my hand, so I'm just going to kind of take off a good amount down there. Whoop. Get some of these shavings out of the way, and then I'm just going to kind of... This is actually wider than we need already. So I'm just going to kind of start at this end. Kind of start taking some stuff off. I thought this would be a really good project for this because kind of the point, I'm really excited about the thread chasing. I'm not so worried about how this mallet turns out, the shaping and all that. And I figured this one, you could really just wing the shaping of a mallet. You know, you could do all kinds of different stuff, and if it doesn't turn out exactly like that mallet that I already have, then it's not that big of a deal. It's still going to be pretty cool. So I'm really kind of hogging away at this. I'm sure there's probably better ways to taper something. One thing that I could have also done is come in with the parting tool and gotten a middle dimension. That would have made the taper, you know, creating that taper would have made it a little bit easier, I think. Once I get some of this material just kind of hogged away and we're kind of on track for the shape that I want, what I'm going to do is actually angle my, and I could do that kind of now, but I want to angle this kind of similar to the same taper. That way I can use my finger as a guide and create that taper kind of automatically. Anything you can do to kind of help the process of, you know, dimensioning things and staying on a line or something like that, I'm all game for that. So let's stop real quick and let's just see what this blank is looking like. I know that it was really hard to see what was going on with this blank. So let me stop real quick. I'm going to check out the chat, see what's going on. Is Carl in here? Carl's been everywhere, man. Carl has been all over the place, and Jamie. I stayed up to kind of pop in at Jamie's at 2 in the morning, and then I went to bed. I was like, all right, see ya. Little too late. Like, even for me, that's a little too late, knowing that I have to get up the next day at some point. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hit this blank with a little bit of denatured alcohol, and I'm going to zoom you guys in a bit. Get you kind of looking down at this. There we go. So denatured alcohol, and I'm just going to kind of spin it a little bit here. You see how there's a little bit of starlight going on? I put my micro starlight in there and we got black. I tried to not make it super, I know it's kind of drying really quick. I got a fan on behind this. Tried to make it not super opaque black. I want it to have a little depth, but it should be pretty dark and kind of cool looking, I think. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see once we get going here. So in the interest of time, like I said, I'm going to be hogging and kind of moving a little bit fast on this. A little faster than I probably normally would. It also helps to kind of get a different little, sometimes if you're standing like directly, your eyes are directly over it, or I should probably zoom you guys out, huh? you know, or you're at kind of a weird angle. Sometimes it's hard to see the line that you need to make, and so I just kind of moved a little bit to the left, or to the right, I'm sorry. And it just helped change that view to kind of put the, you know, what is the angle that I'm trying to get, put that in my head a little bit more. Okay, so we're starting to kind of get there, but now I want to get this tool rest kind of angled the way that I want this. We're a little fat in the middle. It's not a lot of taper really. It kind of went in a little bit far right there, but I think we can manage it. So we're getting the taper down at the bottom a little bit. Oh. Just make sure this thing's tight. Yep. Got a little ways to go to get down to my bottom taper here too. So it's getting pretty close. It's maybe a little bit kind of round right now, but that's getting really close, I'd say. Now I'm a little bit further down here. Getting some good shavings coming off. I got a new cutter, I think. And it is cutting beautifully. All right, whether it's absolutely perfect or not, doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to be using this thing to bang on stuff. So what I'm going to do here is pull out my R2. It's got a radius on it. It's negative rake. And I'm just going to try to come in here and sort of smooth out the edge here. And get this like straightened out just a little bit more. Move my tool rest just a bit. I really like the R2. It makes it easy on the outsides of spindles to just kind of clean that up, get those tool marks out that I put in with the round cutters. All right, so I'd say that is looking pretty fabulous right there. Let's stop it. My bottle of denatured alcohol is completely covered in shavings. Look at this. Ah. Let's uncover that. Oh, I almost lost my other calipers. I found these are the Grows. They're pretty good. They're pretty good calipers. They got outside, inside, and some other thing. Maybe a compass or something in the set. I got a set of 3. All right, so we'll get that all kind of cleaned off. Let's take a peek at this. Let's clean it off with some denatured alcohol again. And let me stop and see what you guys are up to in the chat. Who's all here? We got a lot of people. Patrick came over, nice. Is Braxton here? He said he was maybe going to stop in. Braxton did a really cool, man, his setup was really killer. He had 3 cameras, I think, going on over on his stream. So there we go. Now, I suppose I should put the camera on the thing that I'm talking about. We'll get this zoomed in, but this is looking pretty neat. That would be like a really cool like tumbler kind of thing. Let's get that right there. Hopefully that's good. But yeah, so I think that'll be a really neat looking mallet, I think. I don't know. I'm not going to be taking this up to some ridiculous gloss. This is also kind of a nice reason why this is a utility tool. So I'm probably just going to take it up to about 1,000. And I know that you're not going to really at that point see inside that well on the mallet, but you know, it's just going to get kind of dented up anyway. So I might kind of buff it a little bit or do something so we can maybe see in there, but the point isn't to make this thing super glossy. So at this point, let's see. So our surface is pretty decent. It's not super perfect, the taper, but like I said, I'm not that worried about it. I'm probably going to leave the tenon on. If I want to clean it up later, I can. The point is I want to kind of get the whole thing made while we have time here. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of sanding. We're going to start at 180 grit. Just going to get most of this stuff done on the outside, and then we'll get on those threads on the female side. And the way this works is you generally, like I said, I'm not an expert at all, but just from the videos from Sam that I've seen. So you're gonna cut your female threads first, and then match your handle or whatever the male side, match that to the diameter. So we'll be doing it in stages where we're gonna do kind of the whole thing on this, then switch out to the handle, and it should be pretty cool. And like I said, I've done this. I've cut a few, like once or twice. I've cut threads a couple times here, and I mean, I got reasonably decent results. The stuff went together, right? So, I mean, it wasn't really that hard. It doesn't take long. I figured, why not? Let's do this. And I think that it's something that, it's easy to get results. You could spend some time trying to kind of hone your skill at doing the hand cutting, because although I got them to work, and I actually have the piece that I did first right here. Here's what I made. Oh, that's super zoom. Here's what I made. I was just wanted to get some threads. So, I made the threads and everything's fine. The only thing is it's a little bit loose, a little loosey-goosey in there. And so I obviously didn't get the tenon, fit perfectly, and maybe the cutting of the threads wasn't perfect. However, if you tighten it up, the threads work fine. It screws together and it's not coming apart. So pretty neat little thing. I don't know. How's it going, Kostas? All right, so I'm just cleaning this up with 180. Got the lathe going about 300. I'm not particularly worried. Like I said, I don't need this piece to, during this demonstration, I don't need to do perfect sanding to get this project done. And in the long term, I really don't care if it's perfect or not, unless you just want this as a display piece only. There's no reason to really put a ton of effort into the finish and everything. So let's clean that off. We'll move up to some 240 grit. Take any of that sanding dust. What I am going to do, instead of sanding with more grits, what I'm going to do is just kind of go through and clean off in between each grit and do it that way. Be kind of proficient that way. Sometimes I don't do that. All right, so we got 240 grit. And all we're doing now is just taking out those 180 grit scratches and coming to a finer and finer surface. Don't need to press hard. And I like to flick out and get, you don't want a lot of this dust to build up on your paper and stay there. Clean it out every once in a while. Keep your paper clean and you'll be good to go. A hybrid flashlight, that is true, yeah. Put a little light in there. I mean, there's lots of little things that you could do with this, I think. This would be cool for like a lightsaber, I actually hadn't really even thought about that, but being able to just put threads in anything, that, a project like that kind of comes to mind, actually. All right, so I need to get me some little paper towels ready to rock so I can clean this puppy off in between each grit. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to take it up to about 1,000, and we'll be done with the sanding. That's it. And that's another thing that you can do, a little trick. If you want to go for a kind of a frosted look on a piece, you can go up to about 1,000, maybe like 2,000. I would say probably 2,000 grit, and you'll get a kind of a satin kind of finish on your piece. It'll be kind of like a frosted glass look on transparent things. Hey, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. And that's kind of what we'll be doing. So, like I said, I'm a little disappointed that I put a tiny bit of violet dye in this at the top, and it ended up like, I'm looking at it in the cup going, oh man, that's going to be a little dark. I really was going for super light. That is the one drawback, I guess, kind of to the Alumilite dyes. They are very concentrated. So if you're going for just a light tinting, you need to put, I'm talking like the tiniest little pinprick, and just, barely dip it into the resin. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I'm going to give it a little bit more time with this 400. We'll go to 600 and then 1,000, and then we'll be ready to start cutting some threads. It'll be pretty fun. I like I said, it's an interesting, fun thing. I had a blast with it, and I think a lot of you guys, once you kind of see how it works and get used to like, oh, okay, I understand how to do this. I mean, I think this is something that you will pop up where you're like, I could cut threads in that. That'd be a great way to join it. Another thing that you can do with it that I've seen Sam do is you can actually cut the threads and use that, like mount it as a chuck, basically, like in a sense. Use it as a mounting option. Putting two parts of threads together. Sam makes a lot of lidded boxes with threads. I think that might be where if you're familiar with hand cut threads, you've probably seen that. That's one of the places that you've probably seen it a lot. And so he'll start cutting his threads, and if you need to, turn something else, or like a finial, I think he cut threads the opposite of the finial and just used that to mount it on the lathe. It's really kind of brilliant. I mean, the other threaded thing was chucked up, but it's an interesting mounting method. Lots of options with it. I don't know. Wayne's drill. You really should make it its own social media account. That'd be hilarious. All right, so I've been just using Abranet sandpaper. Works pretty good. I'm starting to find that I do like silicon carbide paper when I'm wet sanding, I think. I think I like it a little bit more than Abranet. Abranet's a mesh, and the difference is I think the silicon carbide just has more particles, and I think that's the thing that I like about it, is you're actually getting a little bit more cutting action across the entire piece of paper, but you have to do it wet. And so for this, I think Abranet, for dry sanding, Abranet's the way to go. Absolutely. And Abranet works fine wet sanding too. It just, I have been kind of playing around with trying out silicon carbide, and I've liked it. And I've been trying to figure out why that is. And I think that's it. I just think it's a little bit more even, and you have more particles. So this is actually a piece of 1,000. It's sitting over there. So we're just going to use this pad. It's Abralon. It's a Merca product. So we'll just give this a little bit of 1,000 grit here. I'm not worried about, there's a couple lines up here, but I'm going to be rounding that off at the top anyway, and kind of parting it eventually. So I'm not going to worry about all that. Just give this a little bit of time with the 1,000 grit. And if you're going for like a perfect finish, what I really recommend, the best way to do it is sand it radially with the lathe on, like I was doing, and then the next grit stop the lathe and sand this way until you don't see any more radial scratches, and then do the opposite on the next one. That way you know exactly when you've taken out every single one of the previous grit scratches. That's the best way to get, you know, perfect results on each grit with your resin pieces. Hey, Sam's here. What's up, man? He's my hero. He is there he is. Go subscribe to Sam, because he is the thread chasing master. He's the one that got me into, I saw him doing it and I'm like, I gotta do that someday. I finally did it, man. I got the Carter and Sons one. And actually, thanks for that video of you kind of reviewing it, because that got me, I don't know. I was like, all-in-one tool? I'll take some of that. All right, so we have a mallet head. It may not be perfect, but it's mine. So Sam will probably be like, no, don't do it this way. This is like this will be the third time that I've ever cut female threads in anything. So at this point, we can start hollowing stuff out. So what I'm gonna do, I'm taking the easy route. Let's see here. I'm gonna take, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna, rather than me hollowing and stuff, I'm just gonna drill it out. So I'm set on the dimension of this. This may be kind of a drawback, possibly. You know, if you need a very specific size, it may be better to come in with a tool, but I think this is about as easy as it gets on the female side. So let me get my drill chuck out. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move you guys, so don't look at the camera for a sec. I'm gonna move you guys over here, so that you can, I think this is a better view from this side. Get my light out of the way. Whoa, oh my God. It's getting crazy. I'm gonna drop you guys down a little bit so you can kind of get into the action here. I think this will be a better view of this action here. Okay. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm popping out my live center. We're going to put our keyless chuck in the tailstock, and then we're going to go for, first thing I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to bring the tool rest up, and I'm going to kind of get rid of this little nubbin. Just make this a little bit nicer on the edge, and I'm probably going to center drill just to make sure that it kind of goes in straight. Let's see here. He's watching me. Thanks for coming out, Sam. I appreciate it. Am I going the right way? Yep, front. Sometimes I forget to put it on forward again. So let's just come in here and flatten this up. And it probably, I kind of did give it a little bit of a dimple, but I kind of like just using a centering drill to get things started so that the drill doesn't tend to wander. And these are cheap. I just picked them up on Amazon. Let me flip my viewfinder so I can see what I'm doing. I'm just gonna put that in the drill real quick, and that'll just kind of center. It's got a 60-degree cone on it, and it just gives you a little bit of a starting point for that Forstner bit to kind of go straight. I mean, this may not be as necessary with a Forstner bit the more that I think about this, but I typically do like to do this on most things, so why not? I'm just going to give it a little bit of a dimple here. And that's it. I'm not even going to use the 60-degree cone. I just want it to kind of go in there straight, right in the center. And then we'll switch out and put our Forstner bit in. Man, now I'm all nervous. Sam's watching. Oh, I hope I don't screw up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in about 1.5 inches. This is something where, being a beginner, how deep you go, like, I would rather have more room, because one of the problems that you run into when you're chasing threads, either side, on the outside or inside, is you end up getting to a point where when you're at the end, if it hits something and stops, you're going to strip your threads out. So you need to kind of come in here, and it's going to run in and cut threads, but then you need to come off. And this is the hardest thing this is one of the things that I'm having the most difficulty with, is that action. Keeping this thing, you know, horizontal, flat, level, coming in, and then taking it off at the right time. So what I'm doing to kind of, and this is probably not really the best thing to do, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper than I really need to give myself a little bit of breathing room. All right, and there is another thing that you do. You have to put a little relief cut in so that it's like a place where the threads stop. That's for like when you're screwing the two pieces together. It'll have kind of a stopping area. But Sam might be able to chime in if he has any thoughts about this. But that's the one thing that I've been kind of like, I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna go deeper than I need to go, because I'm learning right now. You know, I don't. It's not that important to me to get this absolutely perfect. I'd rather just get something that I can use and be happy with, and then, you know, do other stuff when I want to practice. So what I'm doing is I'm just measuring 1.5 inches. I don't necessarily need 1.5 inches of threads. I'll probably put like 1 inch of threads, and I think that'll be good. All right, so let's get the right speed going here. I'm going to go about 3 or 400, something like that. 350. That ought to be good. I'm going to move this light over here, hopefully. Maybe that'll help for you guys' view. All right. I love Forstner bit shavings. Nope, helps to lock the tailstock. I'm going to kind of adjust the speed a little bit, try and find the right feed rate here, so it's not just that kind of high-pitched thing. That's me feeding a little too fast. It's kind of chipping. I'm going to try and get my speed and feed matched up. It's not that big a deal at the beginning, but I would like to have a kind of nice edge in the bottom. Let's see if I can maybe speed this up a little bit and feed a little faster. There we go. Back it off, let it kind of cool down a little bit. What are you guys up to in the chat? While it's cooling, I'll kind of take a peek here. Too nervous? Oh, you don't need to be nervous to stream. Are we talking about streaming, Kim? You'd be great at it. Always good to have a sharp drill bit also. Forstner bits really aren't that hard to sharpen by hand if you want to. I typically just don't waste my time. I'd rather have a professional do all my stuff, so I just gather up my saw blades, my drill bits, and there's a place in Reno that does sharpening on all that stuff. Back this off a little bit. Blow some of this out. If you wanted to, one trick that the bespoke pens, I think that's the way most of those guys, the kitless pen makers, you know, if you're tapping threads or drilling stuff and you're going to be able to see in there, one little trick is add a little bit of like cooking oil or 3-in-1 oil, maybe even WD-40. I don't know if I'd go with that, but if you lubricate your drill bit, the cutting while you're cutting, you'll get a much cleaner surface in there. So if it's something where you really want it to look good, a little bit of lubrication when you're drilling will go a long way. I don't think we're going to be able to see inside this one, so I'm not really that worried about it, but all right, so we got it about 1.5 inches at that point. Blow everything off real good here. Let's see what's going on. It worries me when Sam's this quiet. He's just waiting. Like I said, Sam's got some great videos, and he's a great guy. His videos, he's very easy to watch. Not only is he very knowledgeable, but he teaches subjects well. A lot of times when I'm looking for like a technique type thing with turning, I'll go to his videos. A lot of you guys know Mike Walt, kind of same idea, you know. Carl Jacobson, obviously. I mean, he's in that class of, you know, it's just very easy to listen and learn. So now let me try and, I'm going to reorient all these things and try and, I didn't really look to see what the best angle would be for this. I need to kind of come in. I'm going to kind of drop you guys down a little bit further. Let's hope this works. Get you a little bit closer to the plane that I'm going to be on. Maybe a little bit higher than this. Maybe like that. Try that. I'm going to bring my light in so you guys can kind of see. Plus it helps me to be able to see while I'm trying to do the cutting. All right, so and I got to plug my camera in or else it's going to die. So I got that. All right, we are rocking and rolling. Like that, maybe like that. Okay, so let me stop and just see if anybody's asking any questions. I only have 15 minutes left? Oh my God, are you kidding? All right, so first thing I'm gonna do, I guess we're only gonna get half of this done. I'm too slow, guys. Way too slow. You guys all knew that. So I made this little tool. This has a little thing that you can kind of get in here and create that little relief cut down at the back. And I don't need to go too far in. I just want to have some room back there. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm just going to kind of come in here, kind of at an arbitrary location. And I'm just digging out a channel, and I'll try to get a view for you guys. Inside of there. I don't know how well I can do this. Stop the lathe. So I just put a little bit of a groove in there, and that's where I'll be able to stop when I'm using this tool. All right, so I'm going to come in and kind of come off at that little location right there where there's a gap. That way I can kind of make it easy on myself. So what I'm going to do here is just try and get this thing set. One thing that I need to do real quick is put a little bit of a chamfer. You want a chamfer, and this goes for both, you know, the female and the male. And I'm just going to use this. I think I can put a little chamfer on there. You can use any tool, and they actually make tools for this. And then I'm going to use, this is the female side because we're going to be coming in on the inside here. Let me drop this down just a little bit. I'm a little high, I think. I think I was actually all right. Right there. All right, so let's chase some threads. This is the fun part. So let me see if I got this thing kind of, I think I can kind of come in from a little bit above position. So was there any betting going on whether I was going to actually get this done in an hour or not? I would have taken the no. I'm pretty sure. I was going to try to like do this in full just to do a test, but I ran out of time. All right, so the key to this is when you're starting this, that's when you're actually going to kind of move this thing yourself. I'm actually going to be putting, you know, like moving it in, and what you're trying to do is establish a groove. So I'm going in on that angle. All right. Let me slow it down just a little bit. Now, once you've established a groove, see if you can see, there's a little bit of a groove there where the teeth, what happens is, why they call this, I'm guessing, why they call this thread chasing is now I don't need to do anything. The tool, once you have one of those teeth grab into that groove, it's just going to self-thread it. So you don't need to be doing anything. That's actually one of the hardest things for me, is to just, you know, let it engage and not really, and let it pull it through. So it's actually very easy. And so we're going to continue going at this 45-degree angle. And what I'm going to start doing is turn the corner, because at the end what I want is I want this tool to be going in, you know, parallel with the inside of this thing. All right? Like I said, I'm not a master at this yet. I'm still trying to kind of figure out the feeling, how much pressure. All I'm doing is holding the tool flat, or at least trying to. Let me see where I'm going. I think it's a little bit easier if you're not going as far in as I am. And I can probably, I don't necessarily need to go that far. Oh, I missed it. And so, like I said, the tool does its own thing. Let's see what we got, because I do have some threaded things that I can show. So let's stop this. I'm looking at my threads. They're not amazing. They're not super amazing. I need to do a little bit more chasing. The beginning threads are a little bit kind of flat topped. All right, so let's see if we can get something to thread in here. And I think the things that I've already turned that have male threads should fit fairly well in there, because they all used 1.5 inches. So let's see if we did anything. Yeah. Again, not perfect, definitely not perfect, but threads in. It's a little loose here. We got a little bit of a loose one. The problem is this is a little bit too small diameter to fit in the mallet head that I just made. I ended up kind of cutting this. I ended up cutting this diameter a little bit too thin. So for the next thing, you know, when I do the handle, which I might do this a little bit later on, actually finish up the handle maybe on Wednesday. Let's see here, 11 minutes left. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was kind of, you can tweak the engagement on the speed handle. Speed handle. I'm not sure what that meant, but anyway, let's see. I think I only got about 5 minutes left. Actually, I should have about 10, I think. 10 minutes from now. So let me do a little bit more chasing on this. I'm going to scoot you guys back. Actually, so I have, let's see, what time is it? Let me look at the time. I can switch out and kind of put a couple threads on the male thing and probably get it threaded. Pete, I got that tool from, it's a Carter & Son tool. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Maple Tree. I appreciate it. Yeah, so what time is it? It's 3:51. All right, we got time. We're good. I don't need to feel rushed. We're good. Let me switch out the jaws real quick, because I think that we can actually get the handle. I have actually a couple of, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I do. I have a couple of extra handles, so if I screw this up, I got backups that I can do later. But let's see if we can put a few male threads on. I'll show you the process real quick. This one will go fast. What I'm not going to do is actually turn the handle. Okay, so that's what we're kind of missing out on. I won't be shaping the handle. All I'm going to do is just get the diameter correct, and then chase some male threads. I love the little dial thing on the Easy Chuck. It's so awesome. Okay, so let's get this chucked up. Give it a little bit of a, get out of there. Get that chucked up. We'll just turn it a little bit and we'll start threading this guy. We got time. We can do this. It's only going to take probably like 5 minutes. I'm going to move you guys. The biggest problem is moving all this stuff around. Just going to kind of move you guys right here for now, just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to basically true this up a little bit. And what I want is I'm going to take my dial caliper and get an idea of what the diameter is here. Okay. So we were somewhere around there. I'm going to set this. I'm going to lock this out. And so it's really not going to take much. I just need to take a little bit off of this, which I'll do with my round guy. It's a little bit low right now. Okay, so let's get this thing kind of moving. And while we're talking, I know I'm kind of cutting it close. So the next up is going to be Roper. But he's going to be doing his demo on Instagram. I just want to let everybody know it's not going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Instagram. And I got a link that I can post. And I think Jamie and Carl also, they both have links. So one thing that you can do is to kind of cheat a little bit that I saw is you can kind of taper this a little bit. That way it kind of starts a little bit easier and then gets a little bit tighter. Kind of the same idea as just fitting a lid. All right, so do we have that? Yeah, we're getting a little bit of a chatter, but that'll be okay. All right, so same thing goes. We need to put a little bit of a relief. I'm just going to put, I'm not going to do a lot of thread, so I'm just going to come in here, put a little bit of relief there. Okay. This is how quick it is. So this, I think this should give you a good idea. If you're proficient with thread chasing, it really doesn't take much to get this to happen here. All right, so then the other thing, I got a little bit of a weird bell noise on my lathe. The other thing I need to do is put a little bit of a chamfer down at this end. And we're ready to chase threads. That's it. All right, so I'm going to come in with the other end of this tool. All right, and I'm going to get you guys kind of repositioned here to get a good shot of what I'm doing. I think that ought to be the best. And once again, all we're doing is we're coming in and then we're coming off. I'm actually going to widen that. Like I said, I have problems getting it out of, taking the tool out. So I'm just going to kind of widen this gap a little bit. That's a really deep, kind of crazy gap. I was hurrying. But it isn't going to matter. It's not going to hurt anything. And then we're going to run this down. I think Sam kind of mentions around 350 RPMs is pretty good. And another thing I want to mention is this is a 16 TPI, the Carter & Son, but it's beautiful because they're both in one tool. It's awesome. A lot of other ones, if you buy them, you get them in like sets. Okay. So let me I'm going to move this in a little bit. And we're just going to I'm going to be rushing this a little bit, but see how it's already pulling it? I'm not even doing anything. So I'm going to start kind of coming around. Oh. I lost it. There we go. Might be a little bit low on this. I'm going to straighten my tool rest out, come up just a little bit, and then we'll continue here. the male threads are a little bit easier, I find. All right, so we got threads. I mean, that's how fast it is, guys. These may not be the most beautiful threads on the planet, but we have threads. And I think, hopefully, I didn't go way too over. Hopefully I got that done in about 5 minutes. That's what I was hoping. And let's zoom you guys out. Let's see if we got it to work. Oh. Yeah, I really need to cut those threads a little bit better. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, man. And they're tight. Look at that, guys. I made the beginnings of a mallet with threads. I know I shouldn't have done that, but I had to. Anyway, so I think I'm just about out of time, so I'm going to switch back over to this view, the intro cam. So I hope that maybe gets you guys interested in this. That was actually, it's tighter than the other ones, the first ones, and all it had to do with was the diameter. So there's a little bit of tweaking that I can do. Obviously, I was kind of rushing a couple of things in there, you know, whatever. But I mean, that's pretty close. That's pretty close to a mallet already, and I did that in an hour. So I hope you guys had fun with this. Now, let's see here. Sam, brilliant. It worked. Like I said, so I think that's the biggest thing. That's why I'm excited. The first time I tried this, it worked. It screwed together, and it wasn't pretty, but it worked. And I was like, okay, I can do this, you know. So let me get you guys a link to Roper's channel or his Instagram. I don't know if they've already done that or not. There's Roper. He is awesome. He's up in Colorado. He is a wonderful, amazing human being. Excellent wood turner. I think he's going to be doing a demo on bottle stoppers. He's going to do like a wood one, and he is like he has that process down pat. So head over to his channel. I'm going to be kind of hanging out and checking stuff out. I'm just going to kind of clean up. I think what we'll do is we'll continue this on Wednesday. I think I'll be able to do the handle and kind of get this thing finished up, and we'll have a mallet. So I'm pretty excited. Sorry I couldn't get this done today. I really thought I was going to be faster at getting everything shaped. But anyway, let's see here. So if anybody has any questions, I'll hang around for just a little bit, but I do recommend to go and check out Roper's demo. It's going to be a good one. But if anybody has questions, I'll stick around here for a couple more minutes, and then we'll shut it down, and I will see you guys all over on Roper's channel. So again, thank you to Carl and Jamie for putting this together. Thank you to all the other makers that have, you know, given some time, done some awesome demos, and shared some amazing talent and wisdom, knowledge. I've learned a lot of stuff today, so this is these events are really awesome. So, and thank you guys all for joining the fun on my channel. And like I said, I'll see you guys over on Roper's channel, but I will hang out if there's any questions. I'm going to kind of scroll up just in case somebody has a burning question. There's another link. Carl's got it there over to Roper's channel. So make sure you guys give him a little bit of some comments from the peanut gallery. Say it was from me. He's a good guy. Let's see, I'm just scrolling up, just like I said. It does kind of look like a frag grenade. It's pretty cool looking though. I'm pretty excited about this. I think it's gonna look pretty cool in the end. All right, let's see here. I don't see any questions really. Yeah, I don't think so. What are the tools run? I forget. They were only about, I think it was only about like $100, maybe something like that. Not too bad. Carter and Son is a pretty good, they got good stuff. I actually ended up, because I was buying some other stuff from them, and I ended up deciding that I wanted to try, I have a bunch of, like a whole set of Thompson lathe tools, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're really good tools, but I've always been kind of curious to see if the M42 steel would last a little bit longer on certain things. So I ended up buying a bunch of stuff from them, and that thread chaser, I've been looking at that for like months. So anyway, let's see here. Quick question, a little off topic. What's the best way to achieve perfect tapers? Man, okay, so I am really not, I'm not that good at turning, you know, like I'm not an expert at it. So I don't know. I think the biggest thing is if you can use the tool rest and your fingers to establish that depth. If you kind of tilt, you know, like I was doing, I didn't do it very well, you know, for like a straight taper. But if you can do that, that'll help. The other thing that you can do is use your like if you can like create a diagram, like actually put out the dimensions, like put them down on paper, full size, and then use those calipers to like every inch come in with your parting tool and come to the depth. That way you kind of have a bunch of little check marks along the way that you can get that dimension properly. So I'd say that's probably the best way to do it. Other people that are a little better at turning and knowledgeable in that area might have other tricks for you though. Let's see here. We also had, when you put the vid up later, make sure to add a link to the threading. Oh yeah, definitely. I'll put a link. I didn't think about that beforehand. Silicon carbide works on wet sanding, but does it work well with dry? I wouldn't use it dry. It's a very, that's what I was saying is Abranet. If you're going for just a one-stop shop with sandpaper, Abranet is what I would recommend because I use Abranet for just wood. That's what I'm going to use. I'm not going to use silicon carbide. It is only for wet sanding. I just think that I've been happier with it than Abranet. And we're talking like we're splitting hairs here, literally splitting hairs on this. But with wet sanding, I've been a little bit happier with it for some reason. And what I think it is there's just a lot more particles across the sheet, whereas Abranet's like a mesh, and so there's not even like a full backing of sheet, so which means that they just can't literally put as many particles on there. That's also the reason why I wouldn't use silicon carbide for dry sanding, because it's so dense that it's just going to clog up immediately. So I would not recommend silicon carbide dry at all. But yeah, if you just want one paper, Abranet is really the kind of the one-stop shop. It works excellent on wood. I used it for many years just doing regular woodworking, flat work projects, you know, like cabinet making. It works fabulous for wet sanding, for dry sanding. It's a good one. I've been kind of playing around with my finishes and polishing and trying to find, you know, simpler, easier ways to get, you know, perfect results. And I kind of am leaning towards silicon carbide at this point for wet sanding. I still also like the Zona papers. Those are super high, for when you get to like the super high grits, I like Zona better than silicon carbide. So it's just, I'm really trying to hone the way that I do things, but it's a little bit overkill, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. And where do you buy? So I get my silicon carbide. I like Mirka brand. I don't think it matters what brand you get. I would recommend getting a reasonably decent brand. High quality. I really would not recommend going to Home Depot and buying sandpaper. Well, Home Depot, maybe you can get like 3M. What I meant to say was Harbor Freight. You don't want cheap sandpaper. It's worthless. It's going to actually make you sand more. So I would, you know, Mirka is a good brand. Klingspor is a really good brand. 3M, the Norton is good. So just get a decent quality sandpaper. Any of it will work fine. And then Abranet is, I just buy it packs, like the sheets, 8.5 by 11 of silicon carbide Mirka on Amazon. And I buy rolls of Abranet on Amazon as well. So they're like 2.5 inch wide or something like that. About $30 for this. It's not cheap, but I'll tell you what, this goes a long way. And it's easier. I just use a junky pair of scissors to cut little pieces off. What else was Tim's? I know you said, yeah. Stick to, I'm not sure what an Ernst is. Tim, sorry about that. Yes, you can wet sand with Abranet. It works fine. It works good. My only issue is I have gotten slightly better, very slightly better results with silicon carbide, but Abranet, I've used it for years and it works fine. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, so I got to wrap up here. My numbers are going, holy cow, 241. I got to get going, guys. I do apologize. I'd like to be able to stay here all day, but I want to get over to Roper's channel and help support him. So I'm going to go grab the link to that. He's over on Instagram. Something happened with his setup and he couldn't do it on YouTube. So make sure, I'm going to close it down now. I really appreciate you guys joining the fun. Head over to Roper's channel on Instagram, and then after him, it's Carl's going to wrap up the whole thing. So we'll be back over here on YouTube for Carl at 5. But let's go check out Roper and see what he does with some bottle stoppers.